Okay, good morning. Our next chapter is chapter number 5, that is understanding data. In this chapter we'll learn about introduction of data, what is the need of the data, why we need to have data, and types of data. Along with them we have different types of data and data collection. What is the purpose of collection of data, even data storage, data processing, and finally we'll look at some aspects related with data processing, that is variations involved with data, right? Okay, our first topic is introduction to data. What is the need for having the data? In general sense, we can call data as information. Whenever we get any information, we can call it as a data. Suppose we take an example that suppose you have to go for an admission in a college, then you will have to consider some data related with the college. That is, you look at the placement data of the previous years of the college. Even you'll look at the education qualification and experience of the faculty members, and also we'll look at the different facilities given by the college, and finally we'll look at the fees of the college. So these are the information that has to be taken into consideration while getting admission into the college. In the same way, we come across many aspects where consideration of data is very important, right? Let's take another example. You have seen that the government collects data about the citizen. They have to collect the data based on the male and female citizen of the country. The process is called census. Even these census data gives valuable information when they plan some important policies for the people, right? So these are the data. Suppose when you go to the bank to withdraw the money, or if you use ATM to withdraw the money, the bank actually maintains the data about the customer, right? And even the transaction and the details. So data collection is very important to perform a particular type of activity. Okay. Now our next topic is importance of data. Why data is very so much important. Now we actually rely on data for making a particular decision, right? To make a decision, we need to rely on a particular set of data. As we talked about example, when one withdraws money from the ATM, the bank needs to debit the money withdrawn amount from the linked account. It doesn't actually take care of the person who is withdrawing the money. Bank only matches the ATM with the account linked to them, and it actually deducts money from that linked account, right? So these are some importance of data. This is why data is very important to make a particular decision. Now in this case, in this scenario, actually bank is withdrawing money. It is deducting money based on our withdrawal from the ATM machine. So the bank is already having the data information about the particular person whose account is linked with that particular ATM. So it is based on that information, it is actually deducting the money from that account. Okay. In the same way, meteorological department, they actually keep monitoring the satellites for information related with the weather, related with the cyclone. Okay. So these are the things which actually require the data, and based on these data they actually make decision. Okay. Suppose if we talk about electronic voting machine, which are used to capture votes from the different eligible persons. Subsequently, the voting data from all the machines are accumulated. They are actually stored and they are compared to declare the election result in a short time, right? Even scientists record data while doing experiments to calculate and compare results. So these are the effect of importance of data. Even pharmaceutical companies, they actually gather data to test whether the particular medicine is effective on a particular disease or not, right? So these are some example of the importance of data. Why data is so much important? It is important because with the help of data we get a particular result. You cannot solve a question if there is no if you do not understand the question. It means if the question is understandable by you, it means it is a data for you. Once you read the question, you understand the question, then you go on to solve the question. So this is also data. So this is why data is very important. It is important to make a particular decision, and that decision is based on the given information, given data. Okay, now we'll discuss about different types of data. There are two main types of data. First one is structured data and second one is unstructured data. Before we discuss structured data and unstructured data, we actually look at some important aspects of data. Most of the data, or we can say all the data, come from different sources. They can be of different format, right? As you know that image is a collection of picture cells, that is pixels. Even videos are made up of frames, right? Even the portion of this chapter is actually made up of some numeric, non-numeric data. They are made up of text, icons, tables, images, etc. So data actually they come from different sources, and based on their arrival we categorize data into structured data and unstructured data. Now we'll talk about structured data and then we'll move to unstructured data. Okay. First one is structured data. Data which is organized and can be recorded in a well-defined format is called structured data. Structured data actually stores data in a particular tabular form in a sense in the rows and column form. Okay, and each row and column represent data for a particular parameter, right? As you can see in this table, this is an example of structured data. Here we are having different columns and different rows. Each column represents different variables, aspects of a kitchen item, like model number, product name, even unit price, discount on a particular price, and items already present. ठीक है? And rows represent different observations of the particular data. So the data arranged in this particular format is an example of structured data. You can also say the attendance sheet of your class is an example of a structured data, because there are different, the sheet is divided into different columns and rows where a serial number is given, a name is given, particular date is given, even present and absent of the students are included in the particular sheet. So such type of data can be termed as an example of structured data, because in the structured data are arranged in a particular format. You can call it a tabular format, which is generated by the computer in the form of rows and columns. Okay, even this is the second example of a structured data that is given in your book. Now next is unstructured data. Unstructured data, in a sense, it doesn't have a particular format. The arrangement of data is not in a particular way. Such type of data are called unstructured data. So we can take example of unstructured data as the data that are part of the newspaper. That is, a newspaper contain various types of news items. They are also called data, but there is no fixed pattern that the newspaper follows in placing new articles. And one day you will find that 3 images on different front page. Another day you might find that there is only 1 image on the front page. So the arrangement of data is not in a fixed manner, right? Even you can see different columns written. They are not arranged in a particular way. ठीक है? So we can call that unstructured data are those data which does not have any particular format. Even the email, the electronic mail is also an example of unstructured data, because there is no particular format for writing an email. You can write anything, anywhere onto the body part of the email. So email is also an example of unstructured data, because they are not actually in the traditional row and column method. Information is not in the traditional row or column method. Okay. Now unstructured data are sometimes described with the help of some other data, that is called metadata. Metadata is actually data about the data. As you see in the email, we have different information like subject, recipient name, main body, even attachments, etc. So these are called metadata because they are the data of another data, that is email. So they are termed as metadata. Okay. Even we can have some metadata for an image file, such as size of an image, that can be in KB, MB, even the type of image that can be in the form of JPEG, PNG, even image resolution. So when we talk about a data inside a data, then we talk about a metadata, right? Now our next topic is data collection. So to make a particular decision, we need to gather the data. We need to collect or gather data first for processing data, and the processing is done to make a particular decision, right? So data collection means identifying available data, even collecting them from appropriate or particular sources for further processing. As the owner of the shop maintains the data about the sale and purchase of the items, even he also maintains the record of the cost price and selling price of the item that is in his shop. So all those information, they actually give detail about the profit collection or the number of products sold by the particular person in the shop. So these are some example of data collection. Once we gather the data, then only we are able to make some decision related with the particular data. Okay. Once the data is collected, data need to be stored. Right. Once we gather the data and process them to get the result, then there is case that we require the data again. There might be some scenarios where we need the data again, so we cannot discard the data. To store the data, we need to have some storage device. So data storage, it is a process of storing data on a particular storage device. We have different types of storage devices like SSD, hard disk drive, solid state drive, SD, CD, DVD, tape drive, pen drive, memory card, etc. When the data is very bulky or very vast, we need to store the data as per the database management system, because the The processing of large data becomes very difficult using these type of devices, SSD, CD, DVD. In such case, we need to have database management system. Okay, so once the data is collected, it needs to be stored before it gets processed. Next topic is data processing. Just by looking at the data, we cannot come to any conclusion. In that case, the data has to be processed to get a particular result, and after analyzing the result, we get the specific conclusion. As you can see in the picture, it shows steps in data processing. First, raw data. Raw data when processed gives you information, and the data process cycle involves input, processing, output. In input we get data, we actually collect data. In processing, the data is stored, retrieved, classified, updated, and output gives the report, result, and even processing system. So these are some steps which are involved in data processing. Now this figure shows some task along with data processing and generated output information. Suppose a website is handling online filling of students' detail for a competitive examination. So what type of data it will take? First, it will take student details like name, address, qualification, marks, mobile number, photos, signature, the choice of the center, exam center, online fee payment details. It can be paid through the credit cards, debit cards, net banking, or other mode of payment. Alright. Now the processing of filled in detail for correctness of data received. Once all these details are correct, all given information should be checked whether they are correct or not. Even the eligibility of the particular candidate matches with the eligibility given in the advertisement. It will check if the fee is paid or not, if the photo and the signature is uploaded or not. Then if all these documents are correct, it will generate a roll number and add the particular applicant to the list of eligible applicants. Finally, the examination admit card, which will specify a roll number, particular roll number, when center address, date and time of the test, it will be issued. So these are the steps involved in collection of data, processing of data, and generation of the particular result. In the same way, if a bank is handling withdrawal of cash through ATM of its own branch, then it will first take this particular information: ATM PIN number, account type, account number, card number, ATM location from where money was withdrawn, even date and time of the withdrawal of the money, right? Once it checks all these details, and if it is satisfied, then deduction of amount from the particular account will happen, and the counting of rupee and initiate printing of receipt will be started in the particular machine. Then the result is the money we get from the ATM machine, that is currency notes, printed slips, that with the transaction details. So these are some examples of the collection of data, processing of data, and the publishing of the particular result. The next topic is statistical techniques for data processing. In this topic we'll see different ways or different techniques which are used for data processing. So first one is measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency, it actually gives you a single value that gives some idea about the particular set of data. Suppose if we have many data, or if we have large numbers, then it becomes difficult to count each number. In such cases we take into consideration of central tendency, that is mean, median and mode, to get the basic idea about the given set of data. right? So we'll check about these three things: mean, medium and mode in this measure of central tendency, and we'll see how these things work in the processing of data. As you have already, this is the part of mathematics, you have already learned all these topics in the mathematics. That is mean you know that mean actually gives you the average of the particular set of data. So mean is simply the average of a numeric values of any attribute. Mean is also called average. So a mean can be defined as with n values, that is x1, x2, x3 dot xn. Mean can be written as summation I to n xi divided by n. It means sum of all the observation divided by total number of observation. As you can see in this example, there are 9 observations. So to find the mean of these given observation, first we sum all the observation and divide it by 9. So the resultant will give an average value, that is mean value. The next one is median. Median is also computed for a single attribute variable at a time. When there are odd number, when all the values are sorted in ascending or descending order, the middle value is called the median. Now when there are odd number of values, then median is the value at the middle position, and if the list has even number of values, then the median is average of the two middle values. As you can see in this example, there are 9 given values. It means the number of values are odd, so the value lying at the 5th position will be the median of these values. It means the median of the value is 102. Next one is mode. Mode represents the frequency of the particular value, means how many times a particular value appear in the particular data. So it is computed on the basis of frequency of occurrence of distinct value in the given table. Suppose if a value in the given example, we can see 110 appears 3 times. It means 110 is the mode of the particular set of given data, because 110 is appearing 3 times, more than any other number, more than any other values. So it is called mode. So these are 3 different techniques used for the measure of central tendency. These techniques actually provide some detail about the information or the data. Now next is measure of variability. Measure of variability actually it tells about variation inside the given information or data about its mean value or around its mean value. They are also called measure of dispersion, and it indicates the degree of diversity in a data set. Means how much variation is there in the particular given set of data. The variability of data can be found out by using 2 methods, that is range and standard deviation. We'll see next. First one is range. Range is actually a difference between maximum and minimum values of the given data. That is the largest value minus the smallest value. In the previous example, we had the largest value that was equal to 115 centimeter, and the smallest value was equal to 85 centimeter. So when we subtract these 2 values, we get a range of the particular value, particular set of data. And next one is standard deviation. Second method is standard deviation. It really refers to the difference within the group of data of a variable, and it is found out by using this formula. The standard deviation is represented by sigma. It can also be represented by using this sign sigma, and sigma is equal to positive square root of the average of square difference of each value of the mean from the mean values of the data. If the standard deviation is less, it means this spread of data is less. A larger standard deviation represents the data is more spread, right? So two methods, that is range and standard deviation, each actually tells about the variation in the given set of data. As you can see in this example, these are the heights that were given in the question. So the height has been taken in first column, second column has, once the particular mean value of the given set of data is subtracted from the particular height, that is 90 minus 101.33, 102 minus 101.33, 110 minus 101.33. So we get different values. Now on adding these values and finding out its average, we get this one. Now next we square these values to get these values, and finally this 938, which is sum of the average of this value, is divided by n. N is 9. We get 104.22, and once we find the square root of 104.22, we get the exact value, that is standard deviation, that is 10.2 centimeter. It means, it says that the deviation between the next two values, first two values, or any two values we can call, is around 10.22 centimeter. Okay. Please check the videos, and I'll send you the PDF detail of this particular chapter. Learn it and start solving the questions. Thank you.